your weekly shot of Gen AI news.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive into AI Espresso. Some really fascinating stuff popped up this week, especially in the generative AI world. Let's break it down.
Yeah, it seems like things are moving faster than ever, and there are some pretty significant trends emerging, that's for sure.
You know, the thing that really caught my eye this week was this whole open source AI model trend. It's everywhere.
Right. It is. And I think it marks a significant shift away from, that closed door approach we've seen from the big tech companies. It feels like we're entering a new era of collaboration and transparency in how AI gets developed.
So what's fueling all of this? What's driving this open source explosion?
Well, I think part of it is people are really starting to recognize how important transparency is in AI development. These open source models give researchers a chance to actually look under the hood, scrutinize the code, identify potential biases, and then actually contribute to making these systems safer and more reliable.
I can definitely see that.
Sure.
And it feels like this open source approach is also really shaking up the AI landscape in terms of competition, would you say?
For sure. Take Alibaba, for example. They just released their QWQ model. It's this massive 32.5 billion parameter AI model that's been blowing some of the other models out of the water, especially when it comes to certain reasoning tasks.
Really?
Yeah, and get this, they've made QWQ available for anyone to download. It's open source, which is a pretty bold move, especially considering the whole regulatory scene in China. It kind of shows just how serious they are about becoming a big player in the global AI game.
Wow. They're not just playing catch up, they're going for the lead. It's like the AI arms race is heating up.
Yeah.
And then there's AI 2 with their OLMo 2 model. I feel like they're going head to head with Meta's Llama.
It's a close race, that's for sure. OLMo 2 is another great example of how powerful open source collaboration can be. I mean, they trained it on a massive data set of 5 trillion tokens, pulled from all sorts of sources, websites, research papers, even workbooks. And the coolest part is the entire development process and all the components they used are publicly available.
So it's a gold mine for anyone in the AI community. I mean, researchers and developers can now access these super powerful tools without needing the resources of a Google or a Microsoft. It's like leveling the playing field. What do you think this means for the future of AI innovation?
Oh, it's an exciting time to be in this field, that's for sure. I think we could see an explosion of new ideas and creative AI applications as a result of this open source wave. Smaller companies and independent developers can now step up and potentially come up with solutions that really challenge the big players. It's not just about who has the biggest model anymore, it's about who can use these tools in the smartest and most innovative ways.
And that is super exciting. Makes you wonder though, right? With all this talk of open source models, what about the potential for misuse?
Yeah, that's definitely a valid concern. As AI becomes more accessible, we have to think about those ethical implications. I mean, what could happen if these powerful tools fall into the wrong hands? Something we can't ignore.
Makes sense. Okay, so let's switch gears a bit and talk about another area where AI is making a splash. It's in the world of audio content creation. AI Espresso highlighted some really interesting tools, and particularly in the podcasting space.
Yeah, you're right. AI is beginning to transform how podcasts are made and how people listen to them. Like, for instance, ElevenLabs. They're the folks behind that amazing text-to-speech technology. Well, they're pushing boundaries with their new tool, GenFM. It can actually create multi-speaker podcasts automatically from a variety of sources.
So theoretically, you could take a YouTube video or a research paper, even just a boring text document, and turn it into a fully produced podcast.
It's mind-blowing, right? Imagine taking meeting notes and then boom, you have a podcast-style summary, easy listening for your commute. Or how about turning a dense research paper into something engaging and accessible to, a wider audience?
It's amazing. It feels like we're on the verge of a revolution in how we learn and consume information. And then there's Play.ai with their Playnote feature. It's taking things even further, I'd say.
Definitely. Playnote lets you transform all kinds of files, documents, web pages into podcast-style content. It's another prime example of how AI is making information more accessible and engaging, for sure.
It really feels like we're on the cusp of a major shift. So what does this mean for the future of traditional podcasting, the kind we're doing right now? Will AI make human podcasters obsolete, Will the quality of content, suffer?
Big questions. I think a lot of people are wondering the same thing. Will we all be replaced by robots? I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely a big question mark. We'll have to see how the podcasting landscape evolves as these AI-powered tools become more sophisticated. But I have to believe there's potential for AI to make us, more creative, not less.
I agree. I think AI could be a fantastic tool for podcasters like us, It can help with things like editing and transcription, maybe even generating content ideas.
Exactly. So it's not necessarily a battle between AI and humans, but more about how we can work together. Using AI to boost creativity and productivity, that's a much more optimistic way to look at it.
Definitely. It's about finding that sweet spot, that balance where we harness the power of AI to benefit both creators and listeners.
I like that. Okay, so speaking of harnessing power, let's talk about Anthropic. They're doing some pretty groundbreaking work with AI data connectivity. They've developed something called MCP, which, if I remember correctly, stands for
Model Communication Protocol. You got it.
Right. So basically, it's a way for different AI assistants to actually talk to each other and access information from different sources seamlessly.
You got it. It's like instead of all these AI tools working in isolation, they can now share information and collaborate. Pretty cool, huh?
That's amazing. Imagine a world where, like, your calendar app, your to-do list, and your research database could all talk to each other, seamlessly sharing info to help you manage your day. It would be a game changer. But so how does MCP actually work? Is it like some kind of universal language that all these AI systems can understand?
It's more of a set of rules or protocols that allow different AI systems to exchange information in a standardized way. Think of it like a universal translator, but for AI.
Oh, that's a good way to put it. So instead of each AI system speaking its own language, they can all communicate using this translator. And is anyone actually using this yet, this MCP?
They are. And it's some pretty big names, too. Companies like Block, the company formerly known as Square, and Apollo, the GraphQL API folks, they're early adopters, which suggests this could become the industry standard for AI data connectivity.
That's huge. It sounds like Anthropic is onto something really special here. Connecting different AI systems like this, it could unlock a whole new level of, AI intelligence and functionality, don't you think?
Absolutely. It's like we're moving from a world of isolated AI islands to a fully connected AI ecosystem where information can flow freely and intelligently. Pretty exciting stuff.
Okay, so we've talked about open source models, AI-powered audio, data connectivity, even ethical considerations. What's the main takeaway from all of this? I mean, what do we want our listeners to really understand about what's happening in the world of AI?
I think the biggest theme here is accessibility. We're seeing a clear trend toward making AI technology more accessible, not just for researchers and developers, but for everyday users too. This could truly democratize AI, leading to more innovation and empowering people to leverage these powerful tools in new and exciting ways.
That's a really good point. But, there's that old saying, with great power comes great responsibility.
Right. As AI becomes more accessible, we absolutely have to think about the ethical implications and potential risks. It's crucial that AI is developed and used in a way that benefits everyone, not just a select few.
For sure. Okay, so let's dig a little deeper into that after a quick.
Oh, we don't have a break today.
Oh, right, that's right.
Okay.
Well, let's just jump right into it then. So, how do we ensure that AI is being used responsibly? What are some of the things we should be thinking about?
Yeah, it's a delicate balance, that's for sure. We have to be really thoughtful about how we navigate this new era of AI.
So how do we do that? How do we make sure that AI is used responsibly? What are the things we need to be thinking about?
Well, I think transparency is absolutely key. Like we were saying earlier, open source models are a huge step in the right direction. They allow for more scrutiny, more collaboration, more eyes on the code. When we can actually see how these systems work, it becomes easier to spot potential problems, like biases, and then address those ethical concerns and ultimately make sure that the technology aligns with human values.
Transparency, yeah. That makes sense. Open sourcing those models is a great start, but what about the data that's used to train them? Isn't there a risk of bias creeping in there too? I mean, garbage in, garbage out, right?
Absolutely. The data used to train an AI model can have a huge impact on how it behaves and the kind of output it produces. If you feed it biased data, you're going to get biased results. So it's critical to make sure that the training data sets are diverse, representative, and really carefully curated to avoid amplifying those existing biases.
So it's not just about the tech itself, it's also about the data and how we use it, and I guess the values that we kind of bake into the development process.
You hit the nail on the head. It's a really complex challenge, and it requires a lot of collaboration and open discussion, not just between researchers and developers, but also policymakers and, well, society as a whole, really.
It's a big responsibility, but it also feels like such a huge opportunity. AI has the potential to make a real difference in the world. Right.
For sure. Think about the potential in fields like healthcare, education, climate change, sustainable development. AI could be used to create personalized learning plans for students, to accelerate medical research, maybe even help predict and prevent natural disasters. The possibilities are endless.
It's really inspiring to think about all the good that AI could do. But how do we make sure it's used for good? How do we prevent, the potential downsides?
Right. That's the million-dollar question. I think one part of the answer is having ethical guidelines and regulations in place, clear boundaries and safeguards to prevent misuse, and again, making sure that AI development aligns with human values.
So it's about guiding the technology, not just letting it run wild, but making sure it's being used in a way that's responsible and ethical.
Exactly. It's all about finding that balance. Innovation on one hand, responsibility on the other. AI should serve humanity, not the other way around.
I like that. Okay, so circling back to the news for a second. We've talked about open source models, AI-powered audio, data connectivity, ethical considerations, all that. Anything else stand out to you from AI Espresso this week? Any other key takeaways?
Yeah, I was really struck by the convergence of different AI technologies. We're seeing this blurring of the lines between things like natural language processing, computer vision, and machine learning, leading to more integrated and more sophisticated AI systems.
So it's not just about individual AI tools anymore. It's about how they can work together to create something bigger, something more powerful.
Yeah, exactly. Think about it. Imagine an AI system that could not only understand your spoken commands, but also read your facial expressions and body language, It could understand your emotional state and then tailor its response accordingly.
That sounds pretty futuristic, almost like AI is developing empathy.
It's a fascinating area of research, for sure. And while truly empathetic AI might still be a ways off, the fact that these different technologies are coming together is definitely paving the way for more intuitive and more human-centered AI experiences.
I mean, that's really exciting, but it also makes you think, what does this mean for the future of work? The role of humans in an increasingly automated world? Big questions.
It's a crucial point. Look, as AI gets smarter, it's bound to automate certain tasks and even entire jobs. And that means we need to be ready to adapt, to learn new skills, to focus on areas where human creativity and ingenuity still have an edge.
Right. So it's not necessarily about AI taking over our jobs. It's more about us figuring out how to work alongside AI, using it as a tool to enhance our own abilities and create new opportunities. It's a partnership, not a competition, right?
Right, exactly. It's about embracing the potential of AI while still recognizing the importance of human skills and ingenuity.
That's a good way to put it. Okay, so we're just about out of time for our deep dive into AI Espresso this week. Anything else you'd like to leave our listeners with before we wrap up? Any final thoughts?
I think the most important thing is to remember that this is just the beginning. The AI world is moving so fast and it's full of possibilities, but it also requires careful thought and responsible leadership. As we push the boundaries of AI, we have to keep things like ethics, transparency, and human values front and center.
That's a powerful message. And it really underscores the fact that we all have a role to play in shaping the future of AI. Whether you're a researcher or developer, or even just someone who uses AI-powered products every day, the choices we make matter.
Absolutely. The future isn't set in stone, it's being written right now. And it's up to all of us to make sure that the story of AI is one where it benefits all of humanity.
Well said. And on that note, thanks to everyone for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI. Don't forget to check out AI Espresso for all the latest news and insights. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep asking those great questions.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it definitely is. Makes you think. A lot to process. It seems like every time AI takes a step forward, we end up with even more questions to grapple with. But I gotta say, it's also incredibly exciting to be following this field right now. Things are changing so fast.
No doubt about it. We're right in the middle of a tech revolution, and it has the potential to completely reshape the world as we know it.
So as we wrap up our AI Espresso deep dive for today, if there was just one thing you'd want our listeners to walk away with, what would it be?
I'd say stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay engaged. This is a field that's constantly changing, and we all have a role to play in shaping its future.
I love that. And for everyone listening, if you want to stay ahead of the curve, keep your finger on the pulse of all things I can't recommend subscribing to AI Espresso enough. It's a fantastic resource for anyone who's interested in this world of generative AI. It's where we get all of our information after all.
Couldn't agree more. It's your weekly dose of AI news and insights, all packaged up in a nice, concise way, easy to understand, even if you're not a tech expert.
Perfect. Well, until next time, everyone, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those AI questions coming. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI.
It's been a pleasure.
Espresso. AI. Espresso. AI. Espresso. Your weekly shot of Gen AI news.